I knew something was wrong before I even stepped out of my truck. The shoreline looked too open. My 20-foot cedar bridge was gone. For 12 years, that bridge had stretched across the water behind my property. Now all I could see were jagged posts, floating splinters, and fresh sawdust scattered across the damp ground. Someone had demolished it, and then I saw the orange notice zip tied to the last remaining support. Unauthorized structure. Immediate removal executed under board authority. I read it twice. Then I looked toward the parking area. The HOA president stood there in a navy windbreaker, calmly watching me. Beside her, a contractor was packing up his equipment. No sheriff. No court order. No emergency. Just an HOA board that apparently believed it had the right to destroy something on my property. "You were notified of the updated shoreline aesthetic guidelines," she said. The bridge was non-compliant. I looked at the wreckage. That bridge had stood there for 12 years. No violations. No hearings. No certified demolition notice. Just one morning, it was gone. I looked at the clean cuts on the pilings. Then I looked back at her. They thought they had removed a bridge. They had no idea what they had actually touched. Because that shoreline wasn't HOA property. And the water beside it wasn't entirely under their control either. My family had owned that shoreline since 1946. Back then, the surrounding land was mostly farmland. The road was gravel, and my grandfather personally hung the iron gate at our driveway. Near the old sycamore tree, the original 1947 brass survey markers were still buried in the ground. Those markers mattered, because when the developers arrived in the 1980s to build the community around us, my grandfather sold them acreage, but he retained specific property rights. One of the most important was a recorded drainage easement. He also retained primary control over a feeder culvert running beneath what is now my lower field. At the time, nobody cared. The community built its clubhouse. They added docks. Eventually they built an infinity edge pool and turned the lake into their most expensive visual amenity. And for decades, everything worked because nobody interfered with the old arrangement. Then the HOA decided my bridge didn't fit their aesthetic. 3 days after the demolition, their letters started arriving. Certified notices. Daily fines. Warnings about legal fees. They expected me to rebuild the bridge according to their rules. Instead, I sent one short response. I asked them to provide the architectural review minutes authorizing the demolition. I asked for proof that the HOA owned or controlled my shoreline. And I asked for the contractor's permit allowing him to remove a structure from privately deeded waterfront. That's all. No threats. No insults. Just documents. Their response changed immediately. They started talking about community standards, architectural harmony, and implied shoreline authority. That was when I stopped writing letters. I went to the county records office. I pulled the original subdivision plats, the drainage filings, the old surveys, and finally, the 1983 development agreement. Most of it was boring. Setbacks, utility corridors, maintenance obligations. Then I found one paragraph. It stated that Lot 14 retained primary drainage authority and emergency water level control for reservoir stabilization. Lot 14 was mine. I pulled the engineering exhibits. The feeder culvert ran beneath my lower field. And halfway along it was a gated valve assembly that regulated the reservoir. The community's beautiful lake depended on that gate. And according to the recorded agreement, its water level control belonged to Lot 14. That was when I understood something. The HOA hadn't just demolished a bridge on my property. They had picked a fight with the owner of the infrastructure controlling their lake. I still didn't threaten them. I hired a licensed surveyor. The survey confirmed the boundaries. The bridge had been on privately deeded waterfront. The drainage rights were still recorded. So I sent another certified letter. This one formally documented the trespass, demanded restitution for the bridge, and notified them that I would be conducting a professional inspection of the reservoir control system under the existing agreement. Their attorney responded quickly. He claimed the HOA's architectural authority extended to visible waterfront structures regardless of individual property deeds. I answered with the recorded easement, the deed, the survey, and the relevant property rights provisions. Then I hired a licensed civil engineer to inspect the culvert. Before anything was touched, I filed the required notice with the County Water Authority. The inspection was approved, and the first adjustment lowered the reservoir by 6 inches. Most people didn't notice. At 12 inches, they did. A dark ring of damp earth appeared around the shoreline. Dock pilings showed stains that had been hidden underwater. At 18 inches, the community's perfect illusion disappeared. The water no longer reached the stone edge of the clubhouse. The famous infinity reflection was gone. Residents started asking questions. Was it drought? A pump failure? A broken pipe? Nobody knew. Then one neighbor asked me directly, "Do you know what's happening to the lake?" I gave him one answer. All inquiries should go to the board. 2 days later, the HOA called an emergency meeting. The clubhouse was packed. Homeowners who had never attended a board meeting before were standing along the walls. Everyone could see the lowered water through the windows. The HOA president opened the meeting confidently. "We're experiencing temporary infrastructure maintenance affecting reservoir levels," she announced. "There is no cause for concern." Then I stood up. I had a binder. Inside were the deed, the survey, the 1983 development agreement, the drainage easement, the county filing, and photographs of the demolished bridge. I walked to the microphone. "Before we discuss the water level," I said, "we need to discuss who actually has legal authority over it." The room went silent. I showed them the property boundaries first. The shoreline was mine. Then I showed them the development agreement. I pointed to the paragraph. Lot 14 retains primary drainage authority and emergency water level control. Then I looked at the board. Lot 14 is my property. Nobody spoke. The HOA president shifted in her chair. Her attorney picked up the document and read it again. I showed them the engineering diagram. The feeder culvert ran beneath my field. The control gate was part of the same system. Everything was documented. The president tried to fall back on the HOA's architectural guidelines. I answered simply, "Your guidelines don't override a recorded deed." Her attorney finally asked the question everyone was thinking. "Are you saying the association had no authority to remove the bridge?" I looked at him. The documents indicate exactly that. The room changed. This wasn't a dispute over aesthetics anymore. It was a jurisdictional mistake. The board had acted first and checked the records later. And now everyone could see it. The president's confidence disappeared. She asked whether we could discuss a resolution. 3 days later, a formal proposal arrived. The HOA agreed to rebuild my bridge at its expense. They would reimburse documented property damage. They would formally acknowledge my shoreline and drainage rights. And they would amend the architectural rules to clarify the limits of HOA authority over privately deeded waterfront. I agreed, but added one condition. The board had to publicly acknowledge that the demolition had exceeded its authority. No vague apology. No miscommunication. No blaming the contractor. Just the truth. They accepted. At the next open meeting, the president stood before the homeowners and read the statement. The prior demolition action exceeded the association's jurisdiction. That was it. No dramatic shouting. No applause. Just an official admission. The next morning, I adjusted the culvert gate. The reservoir slowly returned to its normal level. Over the following weeks, the shoreline came back. The water reached the clubhouse again. The docks floated at their proper height. And 6 weeks later, my new bridge was finished. Reinforced cedar decking, deeper galvanized steel supports, proper permits, engineering approval, everything documented. From a distance, it looked almost identical to the original. Up close, it was stronger. But I didn't stop there. I created a cooperative maintenance agreement defining inspection schedules, sediment reporting, and advance notice requirements. No assumptions. No vague authority. Everything in writing. I could have sued for punitive damages. I could have demanded resignations. I could have turned the entire neighborhood against the board. I didn't. Because the point was never revenge. It was boundaries. The HOA had confused aesthetics with jurisdiction. They saw a bridge they didn't like and assumed authority followed visibility. It didn't. They confused years of community use with ownership. They confused a confident letter with legal authority. And they learned the difference the hard way. Because a board can vote. A president can sign a letter. A contractor can arrive with equipment. But none of those things can rewrite a deed. Recorded rights don't disappear because someone forgot to read them. Today, the bridge is back. The reservoir is back. The community looks exactly as polished as it did before. But the rules are different now. Before the HOA touches private property, someone checks the records. And honestly, that's how it should have been from the beginning. The biggest lesson wasn't about the bridge. It was about assuming authority without verifying it. If someone tells you they control your property, don't argue about who sounds more confident. Ask them to show you the document. Read the deed. Check the easement. Verify the boundary. Because sometimes the most powerful sentence in a property dispute isn't in a threatening letter. It's buried in a document nobody bothered to read. In my case, that document brought my bridge back, restored the reservoir, and forced an HOA to admit exactly where its authority ended. And that's why I always say, panic reacts. Documentation verifies. If you enjoy stories where calm strategy beats loud authority, hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments.